Late summer heat clings to the Mojave-style motor lot, even after dark. The asphalt breathing and engines ticking cool. Specialist Harper Cole, Mus 88 metro, moves around the LED MATV in quiet circles while jokes float from behind her. Sergeant Clay Benton tosses a line that reduces the driver to a seat. First Lieutenant Patrick Rowe checks timing, and Staff Sergeant Reed Donnelly works the routine in calm passes. Harper places her gloves in the same corner of the console, adjusts mirrors that track exit lanes and interval, not faces. Her left glove slips once on a dusty knob, and she fixes it without a sound. Crew Duke hums under the panel. Singar's frequency hop checks murmur as Corporal Tyler Cho rides the net with Falcon retrans in the background. Up, armored HMMWVs nose into formation. Mia Alvarez settles in the turret. Noah Briggs watches and files it away. Harper keeps her breath level and makes a private promise to let road choices speak. In convoys, quiet is not timidity. It is unused bandwidth saved for the moment it is needed. The briefing paints the outer loop as easy miles. A neat arc on a laminated map where two forks look like twins under a red lens. Sergeant Clay Benton taps the shorter line with a knuckle and needles Harper Cole to keep it simple. Staff Sergeant Reed Donnelly walks the order of march and reads the rhythm of the trucks, while First Lieutenant Patrick Rowe checks timing and watches for drift. Harper scans glass and darkness instead of faces, mapping escape lines, dry wash patterns, and how interval will breathe once they clear the lot. Her fingertip pauses over a faint scar in the dirt. Then she corrects herself and looks outward again. Corporal Tyler Cho verifies primary and alternate Singars. Falcon retrans, a low murmur behind static. She almost answers Benton and does not. The MATV leads. Up-armored HMMWVs easing into their slots. Crew Duke humming like a small appliance in a quiet kitchen. The convoy noses toward the gate while jokes drift behind the lead truck. The first lie to fall tonight is that there is any such thing as an easy route. The outer loop turns rough without warning. A shallow gravel dip that slaps the suspension and yanks the third truck sideways. Harper Cole eases the lead MATV a half lane left, giving space while Mia Alvarez steadies in the turret and counts a breath through her teeth. Her elbow snags a strap. She fixes it with a small shake. Staff Sergeant Reed Donnelly rides the net with a calm correction, the kind that fits inside a heartbeat, and the driver in trouble lets the fishtail bleed away. For a long 20 seconds, radios carry only engine noise and dry wind. Clay Benton's laugh comes back thin, like someone folding a map, and then it dies on its own. Taillights settle into a cleaner line. Harper's knee taps the console, and she resets her posture without thinking. Corporal Tyler Cho tilts his headset. Singars in frequency hop. Falcon retrans, a faint orison. First, Lieutenant Patrick Rowe watches without stepping on Donnelly's lane. Noah Briggs tracks interval instead of fear and learns how the road wants to be read. When stress hits, rank gets quieter and the wheel answers only to physics and steady nerves. The fork arrives as a pale sign half fed by dust. The right line crisp on the route card, while the left drags along broken basalt and skirts a dry wash that looks too clean for this wind. Clay Benton leans forward in his seat with the ease of someone who has decided already, pushing for the short turn in the way people push gravity. Harper Cole keeps the lead MATV steady and lets the wheel tilt left without ceremony. The decision is quiet and final. Crew Duke hums like a small machine behind the dash, and the order of march flexes with her choice as up-armored HMMWVs drift to match. Mia Alvarez steadies in the turret. Noah Briggs watches knuckles and taillights and learns what silence can mean. The wash is a strip of night that should hold ripples and does not. The ground has that pressed look you get when something heavy paused and left. Harper notes the absence as a presence and keeps rolling. At Cop Granite, A range NCO steps out with clipboard energy and a face that has seen too many of these, busy and unimpressed. He mentions the wash showed fresh scars in the morning, and that left was the smarter line. He does not linger. He does not clap. He is already turning to the next task. The words land anyway. Engines come back online, and a thin mechanical whine shows up. Nothing dramatic. A serpentine belt starting to fray. For a second, Harper almost rushes it. Then she stops, breathes, and passes the note to Reed Donnelly, who handles it at a high level and gets the line moving again. Falcon retrans murmurs over Singars, while Tyler Cho confirms the alternate net. Patrick Rowe checks timing and stays out of the way of the driver and the truck commander. The lot empties back into starlight. Benton watches the mirror and comes up empty for a joke. His confidence does not collapse. It wobbles. And then it learns to stand differently. Alvarez and Briggs clock the pattern. Take the lane that looks rough and reads honest. Leave the lane that looks easy and smells wrong. Interval tightens by inches. Talk loosens by less. Sometimes the only apology you get is the silence that follows when no one argues with your map. They depart Cop Granite with fewer comments on the net and more attention in the cab. Taillights find a cleaner cadence along the left-hand track. Rally Point remains ahead, unannounced, and the night accepts the change. Night settles deeper as the wind drops, and the training desert forgets to make sound. The convoy rolls past hardpan and low rock. Tires, humming in a rhythm that feels almost domestic. Harper Cole drifts the lead MATV half a lane off center and reads the ground like it is telling secrets. Dry washes should carry stray paw prints and faint scuffs. Tonight they look scrubbed. She notes the blank and keeps her hands easy on the wheel. A radio cord tugs at her sleeve, and she frees it with a small shake. Annoyed. Then forgets it. Tyler Cho's voice rides the net. Not loud. Just a report that signal feels elastic, with Falcon retrans sitting low. Reed Donnelly gives him room to work. Mia Alvarez settles her breathing in the turret and watches skyline, instead of shadows that want to be something. Clay Benton pushes for a shortcut ahead, with the same tone he uses for weather. Harper chooses not to answer. She keeps her line and lets the silence carry the weight. Noah Briggs watches the small things. 2 fingers lifted near a mirror. A subtle check that pulls spacing tighter. Then lets it breathe again. The night is a map if you have patience. He tries to borrow some. The ground to their right is dead ground. The dead part is not a metaphor. It is the way nothing moves there. Harper files it and rolls on. She almost makes a comment and does not. The habit of noise gives way to the habit of looking. Crew Duke hums steady in the dash. Singars flickers and hop and clears long enough to prove it still can. The trucks edge along like they might wake the terrain if they raise their voices. Real danger rarely announces itself. It trims away noise until instinct finally has room to speak. The hiss rises like a tired kettle and chews the net until words clip into halves. The convoy sliding into a dead patch while starlight paints the hardpan. Harper Cole lifts a palm and folds fingers. Clean hand and arm work that specialist Mia Alvarez mirrors in the turret so the line inhales and exhales together. Reed Donnelly keeps the reins by recommending radio silence and signals, then gives a quiet go that makes it real. And First Lieutenant Patrick Rowe accepts the call with a brief nod you would miss if you blinked. Clay Benton bristles at the hush, habit tugging his shoulders toward chatter. Then he lets it go, as interval steadies and tires ease off gravel that wants to talk back. Crew Duke hums in the dash like a house appliance you forget about. Tyler Cho rides primary and alternate Singars in his headset, catching elastic scraps that are more suggestion than sentence. And he stops chasing them. Noah Briggs studies the lead truck's small motions and sees how a wrist becomes a lane change and a tap becomes breathing room. Harper's headset cord snags on her collar, and she clears it without breaking the signal. The engines keep a low heartbeat. Taillights compress and then slide back to a clean cadence. No one needs to be told twice. The most decisive order of the night is already moving with them. Silent and seen. Real leadership is less about volume and more about granting space to the person who sees the path. The dust bloom erupts where empty air used to be. A geyser on the lane, right behind the spot the fourth truck would have filled if the spacing had been lazy. Jokes die mid-breath. Harper Cole angles the lead MATV off centerline and the formation lets predictability go. Mia Alvarez tracks the skyline instead of chasing phantom motion on the rocks. Harper's knee bumps the console, and she resets without thinking. Eyes running the ground for places that do not echo back. Reed Donnelly steadies the net with clipped confirmations that keep the line coherent. Clay Benton does not add a word. He watches mirrors and keeps his hands still. Crew Duke hums in the dash like a steady appliance. Unexciting and comforting for the same reason. The column follows Harper into broken ground, where basalt shoulders knock sightlines into pieces, and the empty space between trucks becomes a choice, not an accident. A second detonation claws at a curve they skipped earlier, and then dissolves into dust. Donnelly marks what needs marking and moves on. Harper threads a shallow ravine in single file. Suspension working as the nose dips and lifts. She almost takes it too fast. Then eases a touch and the rhythm holds. Alvarez lets her breath catch too high in her chest and then lets it fall back where it belongs. Noah Briggs keeps his eyes on interval instead of fear and learns how a line behaves when the road starts asking questions. Tyler Cho hears fading fragments on primary and alternate singars. Falcon retrans flickering somewhere behind a low ridge. And he stops chasing ghost syllables. Patrick Rowe rides the oversight role and resists the urge to narrate what everyone already knows. Tires flex, rise, and settle as the lead climbs out of the cut and gives the next truck room to follow. The formation fans just enough to deny a single clean picture to anyone watching. Harper names nothing out loud. But she sets rally point Bravo beyond the next low berm by how she holds speed and where she leaves space. The convoy understands and moves with her. To those who never study the craft, sound tactics look like sorcery. The truth is practice and timing. Harper Cole halts the line with a clenched fist just past a narrow pass. Brake lights stacking as gravel pecks at tires. The second truck noses up too close and almost taps her bumper before settling. The driver catching his breath and easing back a yard. She keeps her palm high for another beat. Eyes shifting from basalt shoulders to the shallow wash that crosses the lane. Her headlamp angle tilts as the lead MATV idles. A hair-thin glint appears between two rocks. Not wind. Not scrap. A command wire drawn across stone where no animal walks. She backs the MATV just a touch. Careful. Then slews enough to sketch a safer bypass that keeps line of sight broken and the convoy out of the obvious track. Her foot taps the floorboard once. An old habit she forgets she has. Staff Sergeant Reed Donnelly affirms with a level tone that carries just enough weight to anchor the shift. No flourish. No extra words. Corporal Tyler Cho notes Falcon retrans flicker in his ear and logs the time without lifting his eyes from the panel. Crew Duke hums like a refrigerator that never quits. Mia Alvarez watches for bait shapes that want to pull a turret the wrong direction. She holds fire and lets the silence say we see you and we are not coming. Noah Briggs counts the seconds as spacing resets to a clean interval. He feels the way discipline can be a kind of comfort when the ground tries to make you hurry. Distant pops from op for blanks echo off the rock. Sharp and empty at the same time. But the column ignores the noise and studies the terrain instead. The trucks skirt the trap and ride the bypass, Harper marked with her position and her patience. The second truck overcorrects for half a heartbeat, then settles. And the line takes that cue as a reminder to breathe. Patrick Rowe stays in the pocket of oversight where he belongs and lets Donnelly run the road. Clay Benton says nothing. Mirrors show taillights moving like a single thought that decided to live. Harper reestablishes control and movement. Hands steady on the wheel. Eyes cutting from shadow to wash to horizon. Once someone proves they can spot what hides in plain sight, titles stop mattering and the room changes. The net comes back in ragged pieces. A cough of syllables, and then a thin carrier that holds together just long enough for Falcon Control to call for authentication. Beyond Rally Point Bravo, the line has steadied. Engines low. Tires brushing hard pan. Reed Donnelly answers cleanly. Cadence like a plank you can walk on. Tyler Cho rides primary and alternate Singars. Fingers light on toggles. Catching the handoff from retrans as it steadies for a breath and then wobbles again. Falcon asks who initiated the bypass that kept the column clear of the wire and the lane pops. Donnelly credits Harper Cole by name and lets the air settle. A pause lives on the channel. Neither hostile nor warm. Just the sound of someone reading a file at night. Falcon returns with a note from a previous rotation. Administrative MIA tied to a route clearance package. Clarified as a lost comms incident that resolved when the net found her again. The word administrative does not make it smaller. It makes it exact. Silence eats the next 5 seconds inside every cab. Clay Benton sits with his hands on his knees and works his jaw without sound. Like he is trying on the shape of what he just heard. Noah Briggs watches Harper's hands on the wheel. They are boring in the best way. The skin across her knuckles does not change. The trucks hold interval and breathe. Crew Duke keeps its household hum under the panel. Falcon comes back once more. Voice even. Acknowledging that what they saw tonight looks like advanced combat logistics patrol discipline executed under restraint. Continue per Donnelly. Nothing more. The net releases them without ceremony. And the desert fills the space the radio leaves behind. At the next short halt, the night smells like dust and hot brake pads. Donnelly steps out. Palms on hips. Eyes scanning the ridge and then the trucks. A challenge coin rests in his hand for a heartbeat. Catches a dull shine. Then goes back into his pocket. Not the time. Benton approaches Harper's door. Stops. And tries once before words appear. He offers a plain apology and his hand. She shakes it without lifting anything extra into the moment. Cho nudges his headset back into place where it slipped. Briggs sets a cold bottle of water on Harper's step and moves on. Patrick Rowe stands 10 feet off, with oversight still on his shoulders, and says nothing useful or useless. Mia Alvarez watches the skyline, because that is what she does when the net is quiet and the trucks are not moving. Whether you are in a live fight or a range that teaches like one, the facts weigh the same and they change people. The column mounts up again. Engines turn. Lights pinch down to what is needed. And the road accepts them back. Engines idle at Rally Point Bravo while Reed Donnelly scans ground and horizon. Then gives a single-up chopped hand that loosens shoulders across the line. The trucks exhale and move. The convoy rolls with a quieter rhythm. Less chatter and cleaner spacing as Mia Alvarez keeps her eyes on skyline and the rim of the next ridge. Noah Briggs matches interval without being told, counting tail light lengths instead of seconds. Clay Benton rides in silence and lets the quiet stand, watching mirrors for the first hint of anything that does not fit. Patrick Rowe keys the mic to thank Harper Cole. Pose. Then tries again. She redirects credit toward Alvarez for holding the turret steady and toward the driver who kept interval when fear tugged him off pace. Rowe lets the thanks fade, which feels like the right size for the moment. Tyler Cho rides primary and alternate nets. Falcon retrans, steady enough to be useful, and keeps the log simple. A seatbelt digs at a collarbone and gets adjusted without comment. The road smooths for 30 yards. then roughens again. And no one narrates it. They all just drive. Small habits have shifted. Taillights breathe into a steady cadence. Windows stay up to quiet the radios. Hands rest where they can move fast without rushing. Crew Duke keeps its background hum. Familiar as a kitchen appliance in a calm house. The gate sits somewhere ahead like a kept promise. The formation carries on with a steadier pulse. Lessons still warm in their hands. You do not need a ceremony to change how a unit stands. All it takes is one night that teaches better than a speech. Back at the motor lot, Harper Cole parks the MATV in the same chalked box and kills the lights. Engines tick cool. She adjusts a mirror, closes her notebook, and lets the night breathe. Noah Briggs passes and leaves space. Clay Benton gives a nod. The challenge coin rests in her pocket. Her seatbelt snags. She frees it. Ordinary. Maintenance crews drift in as base returns to routine. The strongest endings are not brass and speeches. They are engines cooling down while people learn what to keep.